A pit, a lion, and a snowy day. Hello, I'm John Carmichael, and welcome to Kingdom Now. I'm going to be sharing with you a story found in the book of 2 Samuel, chapter 23 and verse 20, in which a man by the name of Benaiah jumped into a pit to wrestle a lion on a snowy day. One day, the Lord woke me up very early in the morning and shared with me that each one of those three things, the pit, the lion, and the snowy day, represented issues in our lives that we have to deal with to become all that God has called us to be. So over the next few weeks, I'm going to be sharing with you this message, a powerful revelation of things that we all have to deal with to become the man and the woman that God has called us to be. So I pray that you enjoy this message. I know it's going to be a powerful word in your life here on Kingdom Now. Apostle Paul in the New Testament, after Jesus had been crucified, put in the tomb, and raised from the dead, Apostle Paul still called Satan the god of this world. The god of this world is roaming around trying to destroy you. You know, at one point, Apostle Paul even said, I endeavored to go and do this, and I endeavored to go and do that, but Satan hindered me. Friends, I'm going to tell you right now that while Satan has been stripped of his authority, he has not been stripped of his ability. I'm going to say that one more time. Satan has been stripped by Jesus of his authority, but Satan still has ability. He has ability to devour. He has an ability to fight you and to come against you. And many people are dealing with issues where Satan is fighting them, but they don't even know it. Many of you are dealing with issues and you've tried everything you know to do, not realizing that you are dealing with the devil, that there have been demons and devils that are fighting against you, fighting against your home, and they must be dealt with by the name of Jesus and the blood of Jesus. They have to be dealt with. They have to be dealt with. But identifying, and I want to continue on that point for just a moment, to identify that Satan is fighting you is one thing, but you have to be willing to take that next step and deal with it. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 26, verse 13, it says, a lazy man says there's a lion in the road, a fierce lion is in the streets. We're talking about Benaiah out of the book of 1 Chronicles chapter 11, how he jumped into a pit on a snowy day to wrestle a lion. But I want you to notice that Proverbs scripture there, 26:13, says that a lazy man can say, hey, look, there's a lion, there's a roaring lion, but he doesn't do anything about it. I see people do this. Well, that's the devil. Satan's fighting me. Oh, that's the devil here. You'll get people who, they're prayer intercessors. Oh, Satan's fighting. Satan's fighting. That's fine. He's fighting. Okay, you identified it. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything to just identify the work of Satan. You've got to deal with the work of Satan. A lazy man can know that Satan is out there. A lazy man can know that they're fighting demons and devils. But you have to be willing to make that next step. Benaiah could have simply walked past that pit and said, oh, look, there's a lion down there. Oh, look, there's a lion. That wouldn't have made the list. What made the list is the fact that he went down there and dealt with that lion. He went down there and dealt with it in the name of Jesus. And friend, I'm going to tell you right now that God has given you authority over every demon and devil. I'm going to have a series coming up here soon on Kingdom Now concerning the authority of the believer. But just to throw this a little bit out, what is our dealing with Satan? What is our position in comparison to Satan? I like how Psalm chapter 91 says it in verse 11. It says, for he will give his angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways. In their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against the stone. Here it is. And you shall tread upon the lion and the cobra. The young lion and the serpent you shall trample underfoot. That's good news right there, friends. That you and I are to be able to tread upon a lion. We're to be able to trample upon a young lion. To tread and to trample on something means that it's under your feet. Friend, I want you to know right now that Satan is under your feet. That devil that's going against you, if you take a posture of non-resistance, if you take a posture of defeat, a posture of weakness, no, you're not ever going to walk in the victory that God has for you. No, friend, you and I have to learn how to take authority over Satan and over what Satan is doing in our lives, and literally to realize that we can trample on every work of darkness that Satan is throwing against us in the name of Jesus. Friend, that's your position right there, is to trample on the devil. That's your position right there, is to be able to walk on Satan and on all that he is doing. Yes, Satan's fighting you. What of it? God's given you authority. Jesus said it like this in the book of Luke. He said, behold, I give you power over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. Let me help you with those two powers. He said, I give you authority over all the ability of your enemy. The word power could be translated authority. It could be also translated ability. The first, he says, I give you power. That was ability. That was authority. The second one, over all the power of the enemy, that was ability. God has given you authority over all the ability of Satan. Someone says, well, what does that mean? Well, very quickly, I want to share it like this with you. When a person, a cop, let's say a police officer, has authority, they give him a badge. He has the authority because of that badge and that gun that's on his hip to be able to walk, and at times if he needed to, he can step into an intersection of a busy highway. And all he would have to do is hold his hand up, exercising his authority over the trucks and the cars that are coming at him. Let's say that police officer weighs 155 pounds, for instance. And a truck coming down toward him with 40 tons truck is coming. Does that 150-pound police officer have ability to stop that 40-ton truck? No, he doesn't. But that 40-ton truck is going to stop, not because of that police officer's ability, but because of that police officer's authority. You see, behind that police officer's uplifted hand is the full weight and resources of the United States government. That it doesn't matter about that police officer's physical ability to stop that truck. That truck is going to stop because that driver knows that the whole resources of the government, state, local, and federal government is behind that police officer, and he better stop because of the authority that that police officer has. Friend, when you and I begin to use the name of Jesus, here's what it does. It releases the full resources of heaven against every ability that Satan has. It looses God's ability over Satan's ability, and that's not a fair fight. That's why all God had to give us was authority. He gave us authority to use God's ability against Satan's ability. I have authority, you have authority right now to release the resources of heaven, the ability of heaven against everything that Satan is doing in your life right now. So it doesn't matter whether you're strong enough. It doesn't matter whether you have ability. It doesn't matter whether you sit there and say, you know what, I'm kind of weak. I can't do this. I'm not strong enough to do this. You don't have to be strong enough. Why? Because God gave you authority to release His ability on this earth in the name of Jesus. Friend, I'm going to tell you that when you learn how to walk in your authority, when you learn how to begin to release the ability of heaven on your life, then you're going to be able to defeat some lions. You're going to be able to defeat those things that are fighting against you and fighting against your family, and realize that when you stand up and say, in the name of Jesus, devil, get out of here, that you realize that there's power released. Not your power, not power from you. No, it's power from God. You're releasing God's ability when you walk in your authority over the devil. And when you learn to do that, all of a sudden now, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter whether you have strength or not. It doesn't matter whether you have ability or not, because you're not living by your own ability. You're walking in authority that God gave you, and you're just loosing God's ability on this earth. And that's what you and I have to learn to do today. If we're going to be the Benaniahs of the Bible, if we're going to make the list of people who can accomplish great things in this world, we have to learn how to use the authority that God has given to us and release that. Why? So God's ability can be released. Imagine that. Imagine that God tied His own ability to you and I using our authority as believers. God's looking at you right now, waiting on you and I to release our authority over this enemy that's fighting against us. Why? So He can release His ability. God cannot release His ability until you walk in your authority in Jesus' name. God wants you to learn to deal with this stuff. God wants you to learn how to deal with this lion that's fighting against you. There's a third issue that we want to deal with during this program. In the last couple of weeks, we've been dealing with the fact that a story in the book of 1 Chronicles chapter 11 verse 22 talks about a man who went down and killed a lion in the midst of a pit on the snowy day. We've looked at the fact that the pit represents sin, our sin, and the fact that people have sinned against us. We've looked at the fact that the lion represents the devil and the forces of darkness and the demonic spiritual forces that are fighting us all the time, and that we've got to learn how to walk in authority over those things. But what does that snowy day represent? It said that he fought this lion in a pit on a snowy day. The Lord woke me up not too many months ago on a Saturday as I was getting ready to speak to a men's group. And He began to speak to me about this story, and He showed me how each one of these three things represented something powerful. But one of the things that it dealt with, that He talked about the snowy day, was that the snowy day represents in our life the natural environment. That's pretty obvious, isn't it? But let me help you with that. What that means is that He did not control whether it was going to snow that day. He didn't control what area of life that he was in. He didn't control or on the earth that he was in. He didn't control whether he was in Africa, or whether he was in Antarctica, or whether he was in Australia or any other part of the world. No, he was in a place that where he was born, where he was raised, where he was to defend a place, and that particular place had natural things happen. It snowed every once in a while. It had snowy days. How does that speak to you and I? Because you and I have things that happen in our lives that we didn't cause, and we really can't control all that much. Things like this: you didn't choose what time you were born. We're going to interrupt the message just for a moment, because I'm going to share with you some very important information. We now have an app for Evangel North Church. That's right, your Android phone or your Apple phone can now receive an app on your marketplace or your store, and you'll be able to view Kingdom Now anytime. All of the programs are going to be there, and any ones that we future do will automatically be there. You can go to the store, type in Evangel North Church, or I think you can type in even ENC and be able to download this app. Of course, you'll be able to read a blog. You'll be able to view our services here at Evangel North Church, and it'll be a great blessing to you and to your family. I also want to encourage you, if you would, to share Kingdom Now with your family and friends. Of course, you can share it on your Facebook, your Twitter. Let people know about it. And one way you can do that is to link WBNA21.com to your social media or by email, and then you click on the light, and then you'll be able to watch this program 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, anywhere around the world that has an internet connection. You can be able to share what's going on here at Kingdom Now. So we want to get right back into the message that I know is a life-changing word on Kingdom Now. Choose whether you were born in the year that you were born. I didn't choose whether I was born in 1972. I didn't choose whether I was born amongst this circumstances, whether it's physical, financial, spiritual. I didn't choose that. I didn't choose my family. Those are things I didn't choose. I didn't choose what genetic makeup I had. I didn't choose what color my skin is. I didn't choose what time frame I'm born in. Do you get my picture? That there are things that are just natural elements. Oh, sure, we live in a fallen world. But there are things that happen to us that are natural, things that we did not choose that happened to us. I didn't choose whether I was 5'8". I didn't choose my eye color. I didn't choose my hair color. I didn't choose the sound of my voice. I didn't choose these things. These are things that I'm born with. These are things that just happened. He didn't choose whether that day to fight on a snowy day. You know, Benaniah could have made an excuse and said, well, you know what, fellas, I would jump down in a pit and fight something. You know what, I'd wrestle a lion every now and again, but not on a snowy day. Whoa, no, it's snowing. No one fights on a snowy day, period. He could have used the excuse and said, you know what, yeah, I could jump into a pit, sure. I could wrestle a lion, sure. I mean, even that is a high level. But he could have said, no, I'm not going to do it on a snowy day. He could have said, I will do those great things, but I need the right environment to do it. He could have said that. He could have said, no, it's snowing today. I'll wrestle the lion when it's not snowing. Oh, I wish I lived in Florida. Then it doesn't snow there. Then I can wrestle a lion all day long. No, he didn't make those kind of excuses. And too many people are looking at their own life and the situations, the advantages or disadvantages that they think they have in their life, and they're looking at these things and they're making excuses as to why they can't do what God's called them to do. They're looking at these excuses. They're saying, well, I wasn't born the right color. I was born in a poor place. I was born on the wrong side of the tracks. Oh, my family was so messed up and dysfunctional. Start looking at this, that, and the other. I don't have genetics to do this or genetics to do that. Or I was given this or not given that. And we begin to look at the natural things that are in our environment as excuses as to why we can't do what God's called us to do. Because some people are born with snowy days. Some people are born with things that they did not choose, but it just happened to them. And they had to deal with it. I think about my son, my youngest son. My youngest son, when he was born 4 months premature. 4 months early. He weighed 1.5 pounds. That's 16.5 ounces. 460 grams is what he weighed. He was in the placenta around him. Most of it had died. A lot of it was rotting flesh. It was necrotic. His umbilical cord was less than a third of the size that it should have been, and that's what he needed to use to breathe in. The water had broke 4 weeks before he ended up coming out. He had sat in there dry. He had all these things in the natural against him. Did he choose that? Was any of that his fault? Was any of that his choosing? Absolutely not. But it was something that had to be dealt with anyway. Every one of you listening to me right now, you've got issues in your life that you didn't choose. You didn't choose what area of the country you were born in. You didn't choose what climate you were born in. You didn't choose your genetics. You didn't choose mom and dad. You didn't choose all this stuff. And all this stuff happened to you. And now you do have a choice. Whether you're going to let those kind of things be excuses to keep you back from doing what God's called you to do, or whether you're willing to rise up and say, you know what, sure it's snowing today, sure I've got these genetics, sure I'm born in a bad situation, but I'm going to choose to do what God's called me to do. You and I have got to eliminate the excuses in our lives from doing what God's called us to do. We've got to stop allowing the things that rise up in our life that keep us back from doing what God's called us to do. And we've got to stop allowing those things to be excuses. Benaniah looked at that snowy day and said, I don't care if it's snowing or not. I'm jumping down in that pit and I'm wrestling that lion. And friends, you and I have got to be able to look at the issues in our life. I know everything ain't perfect. I know you may be sitting here and say, Pastor John, I've got this against me and this against me and this against me. But friend, I'm going to tell you right now, it doesn't matter what you have against you. You've got one thing for you, and that's the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords died on a cross, rose again, and is seated at the right hand of the Father, waiting to release His power on your behalf. And that's all you need. That's all you need. It doesn't matter what advantage or disadvantage you have. I'm not prepared today with the Bible verse here to give it to you, but you can look, I believe it's in the book of 1 Corinthians. I believe it's chapter 15 or so, but Apostle Paul talks about how that Jesus had been using God had been using the other apostles, and he said, and I'm the least of all the apostles. He said, I'm the least of all of them. And then he talked about how that he was born out of season. He said, I was born out of season. I'm the least of all the apostles, and I persecuted the church. But he said, I am what I am by the grace of God. And he said, I labored more than them all. You can look these phrases up and find the reference. He said, I labored more than them all, yet not I, but the grace of God within me. What did he say? What was he saying there? He said, I was born out of season. He said on that day, he said, I'm the least of all the apostles. I don't have the advantages. I was born in the wrong time. I don't have the advantages that they had. But he said, I labored more than them all. But then he said, not I, but the grace of God. What was he saying that day? He was saying that day that it didn't matter what season in which he was born in. It didn't matter whether he was the least or the greatest of the apostles. Why would he say that? Because he felt like as being the least of the apostles, they got to actually spend 3.5 years with Jesus during his earthly ministry. But he didn't. He didn't get to experience that. All the other ones was able to say, well, we were with Jesus when he taught. We saw him heal the blind eyes. We saw him raise the dead. We saw the loaves and the fishes begin to multiply. We saw him walk on water. Paul couldn't say that. The other apostles could. All Paul could say is, I'm the least of all the apostles. They had an advantage that Paul didn't have. But how did Paul live? Did Paul live and say, well, you know, I didn't get to do what they got to do, and they got to get an early start, and they got to start before me. Their season started before mine, and they were able to see some things that I didn't get to see, and use that as an excuse for him not to do for God? No. He said, but I am what I am by the grace of God. What am I trying to tell you today? I'm trying to tell you that the grace of God can overcome every advantage or disadvantage that you think you might have or not have. I'm telling you today, right now, that any excuse of what time you were born in, what color is your skin, how much money you got in your bank account, that none of that matters when you begin to tap into the grace of God. But you and I have to make a decision not to make these things excuses to keep us out. Apostle Paul could have said, you know what? I'm born out of season. I can't do all that God's called me to do. I've only got a little bit of time in my life. Oh, I've wasted all this time. No. Get that excuse out of your life in Jesus' name. He could have said, well, I'm the least of all the apostles. Jesus, I didn't get to see Jesus like Peter did. I didn't get to see Jesus like John did. I didn't get to spend time with them like this and use that as a disadvantage. Well, they had that advantage. I've got a disadvantage. He could have said all that. No, you got to stop doing that. You've got to stop excusing the reasons for you not doing what God's called you to do. Because God's got a plan for you, friend. God wants to do something in your life. God wants to help you. But you've got to say, you know what? Yeah, this snowy day. Yeah, it's snowing in my life. Yes, I've got this genetic issue. Yeah, I've got this color of my skin. Yeah, I'm in this time period in American history or whatever nation you're watching from in your nation. Yeah, I'm born in this nation. I can't control all those things. But I'm also not going to let those things be excuses either. I'm not going to let them be excuses. I'm going to rise up in Jesus' name. I'm not going to allow myself to excuse not doing what God's called me to do because of some natural environment that's been attacking my life. But it's a decision that you have to make. You have to decide right now in the name. I know that was a life-changing word for you, and I just want to encourage you to watch all the programs concerning this issue of the pit, the lion, and the snowy day, because God is really wanting to raise up some people to begin to become all that He wants them to become, all that God wants you to become. And I know that's what this word is doing for you. I want to take this opportunity to invite you to visit us at Evangel North Church. We are located in Clarksville, Indiana, and I encourage you to come out and be a part of our services. We have services Sunday morning at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. Our Wednesday night service is at 7. And I encourage you to come out to the church as we are embracing our community and trying to reach people for Jesus Christ. We have a slogan at the church that says, "You belong," because that's our message, is that we belong to God. We belong as a part of the church here at Evangel North Church. You can get more information by visiting us online at evangelnorth.net. That's evangelnorth.net. Of course, if you have an Android device or an Apple device, you can go to the marketplace or store and download our app. It'll give you more information about the church. You can get ministry there. You can read our blog. You can view our church services anywhere around the world. You can give online, submit praise reports and prayer requests. Just an app that's going to minister to you, and we believe it's going to be a blessing to you. Again, and also encourage you to share Kingdom Now with your family and friends. Go on your social media. Let people know about this program. Our audience is growing and expanding, but we need you, if you would, to continue to help us to take this program to the next level. Before we go today, I want to say a word of prayer for you, because I know this word about the pit, the lion, and the snowy day is a life-changing word for you. And I believe that God is going to take you to the next level. Father, today I pray for my friends. And God, I thank you that as we deal with the pit, as we deal with the lion, and as we deal with the snowy days that are in our lives, God, that you are taking my friend to another level. Blessing is coming their way. Joy and peace and healing right now is released in their life. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you. I want to thank you for watching this program and know it's been a blessing to you. We'd love to hear from you. You can email us at info@evangelnorth.net. That's info@evangelnorth.net. We'd love to hear from you. God bless you, and thank you for watching Kingdom Now.